Hi there, and welcome to Wade's Workshop. In this episode, a little bit of machining. I've got to make a removable tang for an MT2. We'll look at that next. And I've done a little bit of shopping, been out and about lately. Got a few little bits and bobs for the workshop, and I shall show you those toward the end. Regular viewers will remember that a few months ago I made up two of these centre drill holders on blank arbors, soft arbors, with an MT2 to go in the tailstock of a lathe. These particular arbors have a M10 thread in the back for basically screwing up into, with a drawbar into a milling machine, something like that. And I dare say they will come in very useful, just for that use in the future, should I get a milling machine. I keep saying, should I get a milling machine one of these fine days. Anyway, when I put them in the tailstock of a lathe, they do cause a slight problem in that because they haven't got a tang on the end, they don't eject properly. Let me just show you a few problems I got with that. So again, if I did have a milling machine, probably be something like an MT3 in the milling machine. If I use these arbors with a drawbar onto a normal adapter, so to speak, I would have the problem that they're going to be very difficult to eject with a drill drift because you've got nothing sticking through into the slot for the drill drift to eject the two. And on the odd occasions when I've used these in my headstock, I've had to sort of jigger about with a screwdriver in the slot to try and eject them. I have got them out, but what I'm looking at is making some screw-in tangs, shall we call them, or even if it was a short threaded bolt in the back, just to make them easier to eject from my tailstock and from that taper sleeve. I'll show you the problem with the tailstock. So yeah, I mean, it fits in there, and it will eject right at the back, right at the very back, as you can see. I didn't push it in particularly hard because I didn't want to jam it in there. But it's right at the very back, and the thread on the end of the lead screw actually sticks up in there, and I'm worried it's going to damage the end of the lead screw for the quill. So we're going to make up some little blocks, or little pins, to go in here to replicate a tang, as it were. So I got a bit of drill rod. I think the Americans call it. We call it silver steel, but it's a little chunk of silver steel in the chuck here. And as usual, first step, place it off. So I'm going to want a section of M10 thread here. So I need a diameter of 10mm over, let's just set the DRO, if I said 12mm long. So just hand feeding this, running around 1000 RPM. Put up to the shoulder about 11.6, something like that. So let's get my calipers. Not too fussy this. Get my caliper, see where I am. 11.3. I'll call it 11.3. Set a DRO. That's half minute aside. Take me to 10.3. .15 aside. Scratch it down to the final size of 10mm. Nice light finishing cut, 0.15 aside. 6 thou, in the old English we'll call it. We'll just double check myself. 9.9, yeah, well that'll be alright for an M10 die. I could take a bit more off. In fact, for what it's doing, let's make it easy on the die. Take another 0.1 off. There we are. So that's ready to accept the thread. Let's just have a quick look. Well, on the end of there, that's 13mm, 13 and a half. So if I had a flange of 13 diameter and then went back down again on the other end. So we'll call that a 10mm. I want to come out 1.5 aside. Bit of a flange. So that's 0.15 bigger than where that 10 was on my DRO, so that should be sort of 11.8, something like that. Let's have a look. Something like 11.8, something like that, I would imagine. 12.8, what was I talking about? Anyway, 12.88, yeah, I mean, that'll be fine. So that's going to be sitting on that rear face of that. And then we'll neck it back down, maybe with a ball end, so that it'll eject. So a couple of flats so I can get a spanner on it, maybe. So we need a nice big chamfer on the end of there now. Give the die a fighting chance. Slow that round a bit, right. Slow it down a bit as well. So that'll do for that. I've got one on there. And I'll just get rid of that sharp edge, even though it's going to be machined away afterwards. There we are. Okay, so we need to run an M10 die up the end of there. So we'll give it a bit of compound. I won't feed it on. I've got my winding handle on the back of the headstock. Let's just bring you out. You can see my winding handle on the back of the headstock here. I'll just start the thread off, wind forward with the tailstock just a little bit, get it started, and wind the thread on. Back it off a little. I'll give you a shot from the right direction on this. Okay, you can see what's going on now. Can't go too mad at this because the sort of load that this is putting on it could catch on the slip in the chuck, and I don't want to do that. More fluid on there, I think. I use this Molly Slip MWF. No particular reason. It's the only sort of thread cutting fluid I've got in the workshop. I mean, I've had this bottle for 6 months or so. I think I can see in the light it's down to about there. I use it fairly regularly. Finishing cuts on steel, that sort of thing, and whenever I'm threading. Yeah, I use pretty much nothing on brass, nothing on cast. I use WD-40 on aluminium. And I use this stuff for finishing cuts on steel. Seems to work okay. No particular allegiance to it, but it's what I could get hold of. When it runs out, might try something else. So let's just wind this into the shoulder. That's about it. There we are. That's the M10. I don't know if I'm going to need an undercut in the back or not to make it sit right down. Only one way to find out. We'll try it out. So I've just tried it on there, and it doesn't fit. Well, it does, but on first attempt, it wouldn't fit whatsoever. I got an M10 tap out. Tried it in the hole, it went in. I could hold it by hand and tapped it out with an M10. There was a bad burr on the end, and again I believe this was caused by the end of the lead screw in the tailstock. So I tapped it out M10, and now as you can see it will go right in to that shoulder, no problem. So I didn't need an undercut. So next step, turn it round and we'll see it making some sort of tang on the end. So just comparing it to a Morse Taper 2 with a tang on the end, I'm looking about 11 mil from the shoulder where it screws in for its overall length. So from this face to the back, I want about 11 mil. So happy days. I'll probably part it off, and then we'll look at replicating that, well, in any way that we can that'll work without getting too mad on it. So I parted it off. And I used an 18 TPI parting off tool for that, otherwise known as one of these, 18 TPI parting off tool. Sometimes the old-fashioned ways are the best, quickest and simplest. So what I'm going to do is face this, drill and tap an M10 with a little counter bore, and then I can screw the parts, because there's two of these I'm going to have to do, screw it into that M10 and then finish turning the other side. So that's probably the simplest way to do it. Just a little note about hacksawing in the lathe. I didn't do this in the lathe. I took it out and put it in my bench vise. But if you were hacksawing in the lathe, I'd probably always recommend that you put a board or something underneath, same sort of thing that you use with a chuck, piece of board, piece of wood, perhaps with a couple of battens either side, on the carriage of the lathe, so that if, when you break through, or you slip or anything like that, that you're not going to hit the bedways of your lathe. And again, to keep the hacksawing swarf away, you could have little bits of hacksaw teeth, that sort of thing, and they can be, you know, obviously they'll be very abrasive if you get any of that on the bedways of your lathe. So yeah, if you're ever hacksawing, I mean, some people frown upon hacksawing in the lathe. I don't think it's a great problem as long as you take the proper precautions. So yeah, that's just a little sub note about hacksawing in the lathe. So I'm just going to face this off, drill it out, and tap it M10. Probably noticed another thing I just did then, just as I was starting the cut, I had the e-stop pushed on the lathe, and the reason for that, it was a reminder for me to remove the winding handle from the back of the headstock. So I'd go to start it up, it wouldn't start. I'd think, oh, the e-stop's pushed, why is it pushed? Because of the handle on the back, but I had remembered to remove the handle anyway. So but yeah, it's just a habit I've got into, is I whack the e-stop if I've got the winding handle in, and then there's no way I can start the lathe up and have a steel handle rotating at high speed on the back of the headstock and doing all sorts of damage to anything that comes within its reach. Yeah, there's one drawback of winding handle, is you have to remember to remove it, and that's just my little cue to myself. So yeah, I'm going to drill this out and tap it M10. I'll bring you back. Again, I tend to use centre drills to start any drilling operation in the lathe. I know centre drills are, you know, primarily 99% designed for placing an appropriate hole to put a centre in, as opposed to centering up a bore for drilling. Spot drills are the way most people do it, or a lot of people do it. A lot of people do it the way I do it. I haven't got any spot drills. Maybe it's something I'll get, is a set of spot drills, I don't know. But yeah, I always start off with a centre drill. I mean, I've been doing it for 40 years, never had a problem, so, well, certainly 35 years. So I'm going to carry on doing it. So I drilled and tapped it, screwed the new one in. I just grab it with a mould just to tighten up a little bit, but it is, now that it's right in. Again, compressor, I couldn't blow the swarf out the hole particularly. So I am going to skim this down. I think the 10mm diameter I think we'll go for. I could do with speeding that up a little bit. Let's just face it to length first. Get rid of that intermittent cut. I said I was looking for 10mm from the face there, which would be about there. 10 or 11, something like that. There, 11 will do it. It's not fussy, this. For what I'm using it for. I've lost the edge of my tip. Serves me right for using aluminium tips on drill rod silver steel. So we'll change that tip out. That's better. Let's turn the insert around. It's coming a lot better now. Cutting perfectly now. Perfectly. Well, comparison to what it was when the tip was missing. So I want a diameter, I'm going to start with about 10 mil here, I think we'll go with 10 mil. And I'm going to have a shoulder on there. Actually lost my readings, where am I? Yeah, probably about 3 mil wide. Maybe about there. Speed proceedings up a little. Have a look where I am on diameter. I reckon that's about 11ish. 10.98. Yeah. Another half mil side. That's good. Speed it up. You didn't quite clean up that front face. I think we'll have a bit of a bevel on that front face. You might even file that off. But let's see what I can do here. Yeah, just giving it a bit of a bevel. So I think I'm going to file 2 flats on there, and that'll be the makings of, just get that swarf out of the way, my little screw-in tang. So there's the little screw-in tang in the back. Yeah, I know it's not the sort of standard tang design, but that's not what I was aiming for. It was something quick and simple. It fits in Morse Taper 3 sleeve, and if I put it in the tailstock, lock it back, unwind the tailstock, ejects no problem at all. So yeah, happy with that. I've been meaning to do that little job for some time. So that's a little dummy tang in the back of a Morse Taper 2 with a drawbar facility. Is M10 in the back. So it just makes it a bit more universal. I can use it in the tailstock, or I could use it at some stage still with an M10 drawbar in the headstock. Been doing a little bit of shopping, a few new additions to the workshop. I was up at our local county show, the Pembrokeshire County Show, a couple of weeks back, and I picked up an M4, M5 and M6 die, all metric course. I think they were £1 a piece, so couldn't really go wrong. They will be Chinese, but I've used Chinese once before and they're alright, you know, as long as you're not using them at high speed and don't go mad with them. I've got a nylon mallet, or nylon urethane, we should call it plastic urethane mallet. I think that was a £5. And I also bought a set of hooks and picks. Something I have got a few homemade ones that I've had from many years ago. Don't know where they are and what have you. I can throw these in a drawer and I know I've always got access to them. So they're always handy for, you know, when you're fiddling about with small parts, trying to remove seals, that sort of thing. So yeah, a few new little additions. Well, there we are. Only a few bits and bobs this week. Not too much content, I'm afraid. I'm right at the point where I'm about to start on this big decking project that I've got outside, so I've been taking stuff to the tip, taking down my old shed, all sorts going on, so I haven't had a great deal of time to be in the workshop, but I try and keep at least one video a week going for you guys, you know, just to keep things flowing. But hopefully once the winter months come, and I won't be spending much time outside doing anything, I'll be able to put a lot more effort into doing a lot more content on A's Workshop. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all soon.